Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Smart Tea podcast, where we talk about the lives of scientists and innovators who shape the world. I'm Aarati.
And I'm her mom, Jyoti.
And today, Mom, I have a very special story for you. I have been sitting on this story for several months now. I actually learned about this story many months ago when I was scrolling on TikTok, which I spend entirely too much time doing.
Don't we all have our own favorite poison?
Yes.
Takes over our life. So yours is TikTok.
Yeah, and it's so bad because it's like just these short little videos that if you don't like it, you can just keep scrolling. And because of that, my attention span is like 15 seconds. And if you capture me,
Fragmented.
yeah, it's like,
Yes.
But this video that I saw on TikTok was a clip from a movie that captured my attention because it was Alan Rickman in the movie.
Oh, yes.
But I didn't recognize the movie. So Alan Rickman is playing a doctor of some sort, and he's in some swanky party, and he's talking to a group of other doctors, mostly men. But then there's a woman doctor who is played by Mary Stuart Masterson, who, I don't know if you remember the movie Fried Green Tomatoes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, she's the Iggy character.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Love that movie.
Absolutely.
Mary Stuart Masterson is playing a woman doctor, and she's trying to convince Alan Rickman's character to think seriously about whether there's a way to treat blue baby syndrome surgically.
Oh, okay.
And so all the other men in the group are kind of scoffing at her because they're like, that would mean that you would have to do a heart operation, which would require stopping the heart, and that's impossible without killing the patient.
Okay.
But Alan Rickman is listening very seriously, like it should be able to be done. Right?
Okay.
So that was it. That was all I got from the TikTok.
That's all you got. Were you able to track the movie then?
Of course, yes. So I hunted down the movie. So it turns out it's a 2004 movie called Something the Lord Made.
Okay.
And Alan Rickman is playing a real doctor named Dr. Alfred Blalock. And Mary Stuart Masterson was playing Dr. Helen Taussig.
Okay.
But then in the continuation of that scene, so Helen Taussig is asking Alfred Blalock about a surgical intervention for blue baby syndrome. And Dr. Blalock starts to think through it out loud. And there's this black man who is a waiter at this swanky party. And he's just been kind of hovering around the group, refilling their drinks and taking away empty glasses.
And eavesdropping.
Yeah. And as Dr. Blalock starts to brainstorm out loud about like what could be done and maybe if we did it this way, this waiter starts to brainstorm with him and starts talking about ventricular fibrillation and the pulmonary artery. And they're just having this like back and forth. But what if we did this? And it's like, no, but then you have to do that first. But what if we focused on the pulmonary artery? Oh, that could maybe work. And these two are now like in their own little world of medical discussion.
Oh my God. This sounds absolutely fascinating. You have already got me on the edge of my seat now.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So now everyone in the group in the movie is staring at this doctor talking to this waiter. And they're in this deep discussion until Helen Taussig interrupts and she asks the waiter, just who on God's green earth are you that you can talk like this, you know?
Yes, how do you know so much? Yes.
Yeah. So that waiter is played by Mos Def, and the real life person that he's playing is a man named Vivien Thomas.
Vivien Thomas. Okay.
Yes. And today, that's who we're going to be talking about.
Oh, my goodness. Lovely setup. I love your setup. The only thing I'm missing now at this point is what exactly is a blue baby?
Yeah, we'll get into that.
All right.
But like I said, I discovered this movie a long time ago. I wrote up the story and it's just been sitting on my computer for several months because I was waiting for the perfect time to tell it. And I thought, you know what? It's February. Valentine's Day is approaching.
Oh, yes.
And we're going to be talking about the heart a lot. And it's also Black History Month. And so what better time to do
a
story
perfect
about a black
juxtaposition of
scientist?
everything. All the planets are aligning for the story to finally be unveiled.
Yes, exactly.
Nice. Lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. And not to plug our own podcast too hard, but I do think that it makes sense to listen to his story first or know about his story before you go and watch the movie, because I feel like if you don't know the backstory, the movie kind of is a bit disjointed, I felt like.
Yeah, they can't bring all the pieces together scientifically and still retain the drama element that a movie requires in order to be successful. Yes,
yeah, just some of the
I hear that.
context and knowing some of the history will, I think, enhance your enjoyment of watching that movie.
We'll focus on the science. Okay.
Yes.
Sounds
And then
good.
Saturday night, movie night, well, we have one lined up.
Yes. Awesome.
Okay, so let's get into the story of Vivien Thomas. He was born on August 29th, 1910, in Lake Providence, Louisiana. His father, William Mascio, and his mother, Mary Eaton, had 3 children before Vivien was born. The eldest was a girl named Olga, and then they had 2 younger boys, Harold and Mascio.
Okay.
And then after that, when Mary Eaton was pregnant with her 4th child, she was absolutely convinced that she was going to have another girl because they had 1 girl and 2 boys.
Yes.
So she was convinced.
It was time for another girl to come around. Yeah.
Yeah, balance out those boys.
Balance it all out 50-50 unless you got a dog.
Yes, exactly. And so while Mary is still pregnant, they picked out the name Vivien because they were convinced it would be a girl. But then, to their surprise, when a little boy was born, they just had fallen in love with the name Vivien and they gave it to him anyway.
They continued with it. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope that worked out for him and he didn't get bullied, I hope.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they didn't just switch it to some other like Victor or some other V name that would have worked out just as well.
Yes.
But Vivian's not too bad, I guess, as far as, at least it's not like Jennifer or something.
Yes.
That would have been really weird. When Vivien was 2, his family moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and there his parents had 1 more child, finally the daughter that they had been expecting.
They could have saved the name for her. She could have been Vivien.
But they named her Melba. William, the father, was a carpenter and a contractor and built the house that the family lived in.
Oh, nice. Good set of skills.
Yeah, he knew everything. Mary, the mother, was a seamstress and sewed all of the children's clothes. And overall, they were a very happy family. They did pretty well for themselves. Vivien went to public school and received a fantastic education. Vivien wrote an autobiography, and he wrote that the teachers were, quote, concerned and dedicated and were determined that children would learn whatever they were supposed to learn, end quote.
Very nice.
Yeah. And the children were also encouraged by both of their parents and their teachers to do well in school and respect authority. So very solid upbringing.
Yes, very encouraging to the kids and to develop their own futures, and education is given priority. That's always a good household.
Yes. At home, Vivien's father taught his sons carpentry whenever they weren't busy with school. So Vivien started out learning how to hammer nails and measure things. And by the time he was 16, he could hang doors, install locks, and build staircases without any help whatsoever.
Wow. Whoa. Okay.
He started going on jobs with his father and was getting paid an hourly wage. So by the end of high school, Vivien had a reputation of being a very good contractor and from a very reputable family business.
Yes. He learned it the right way. Trained on the job, trained by experts.
Yes, he's got a name for himself.
Nice.
Vivien saved all of the money that he got from his contracting work, and he intended to put it towards college. He really wanted to enroll in Tennessee State College as a pre-med student. And so in the summer of 1929, between high school and college, he took on a full-time job to earn even more money. He joined the maintenance and repair crews at Fisk University, which was a Black liberal arts school. And towards the end of the summer, The foreman, Mr. Elders, pulled Vivien into his office and told him he was really impressed with Vivien's work and diligence.
Mm-hmm.
And he really wanted to keep him on until Christmas and maybe even beyond. So Vivien thought about it and he was like, well, I guess I can always register for college in the spring semester and it'll be really good to have the extra cash just in case there are unforeseen textbook expenses or something like that.
Build some cushion.
Yes. So he agreed to defer his school plans for a few months and continue working. However, this decision turned out to have really huge consequences because in the fall of 1929, the American stock market crashed.
Oh.
And that triggered the start of the Great Depression.
Oh, he's going through that's a hard time. The Great Depression was a very difficult time for almost all Americans. But then particularly for Americans of color, the economy being very short on jobs, whatever little was available was not definitely being directed towards people of color, for sure.
Yeah, and it was really tough because also no one had money for repairs or remodeling houses in the first place. So there weren't even enough contracting jobs to go around.
Yes.
Demand has decreased also.
Yes.
So
in every way they are being hit.
And so soon Vivien realized that if he wanted to keep making money to add to his savings for college, he had to broaden his job search and go beyond contract work.
Okay.
So he asked a friend of his named Charles Manlove, who worked at Vanderbilt University, if he could help him get a job there. And Charles was like, yeah, there is this one guy, Dr. Alfred Blalock, who is in charge of the experimental surgery laboratory. And he's looking for a research assistant.
That's the same Blalock you started the story with.
Yes,
was played by Alan Rickman.
Yeah, so Charles tells Vivien that Dr. Alfred Blalock is looking for a research assistant.
Yes.
But he also warned Vivien that, quote, the guy was hell to get along with, end quote. But Vivien was like, I really need the money.
I need the money. I need a job. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's not that many options out there, so sign me up,
Yes.
So Charles introduces Vivien to Alfred Blalock, and Vivien is surprised to see that Alfred Blalock is quite young and seems kind and normal enough. In his autobiography, he wrote, quote, since Charles had told me he was in charge of the laboratory, I expected, at the least, a mature, middle-aged person. Yeah. Instead, Dr. Blalock looked more like a college senior or medical school student. He was very cordial and polite, end quote.
So Dr. Blalock has already risen high at a young age.
Yeah.
So he must be pretty skilled. Okay.
And also, surprisingly, normal after this huge warning from his friend Charles.
After all this drama. But we'll see that. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Okay.
That's smart. Reserve judgment.
Yes.
Also, another side note, Alfred was kind of obsessed with Coca-Cola, and he kept a case of it in the walk-in refrigerator in his lab. Vivien said he would drink 4 to 8 bottles a day and would only offer you a bottle if you were a very distinguished guest.
4 to 8 bottles every day? Oh, that's a lot of Coke.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
I think Coke has some acid. If I'm not mistaken, I'm thinking about the phosphoric acid that I've heard it contains.
Yeah, it probably wrecked his teeth and stomach and everything.
His teeth and gut lining and everything. Oh goodness, why do people do this to themselves?
I don't know. Everyone has their own weird idiosyncrasies.
You choose your poison, man.
But I thought this was and that's another thing, like in the movie, they'll probably show him like drinking a Coke and you don't make much of it if you don't know the background. So
that's right. This was in place of water. He drank Coke instead of water.
Yes. And no one's allowed to touch it except for him.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dr. Blalock needed an assistant because he was in charge of the experimental surgery lab and was having to spend more and more time dealing with patients. But he wanted to continue his research work looking into the causes of hemorrhagic and traumatic shock. And so he
Okay.
needed a research assistant to help him carry out experiments while he was busy with patients.
Okay.
When Alfred first described the type of work that needed to be done, Vivien was a bit shocked because Alfred was using dogs as test animals.
Oh, wow. Okay. Uh-huh.
Alfred had a bunch of stray dogs that he got from the local pound that he kept in the lab. And for each experiment, a dog had to be anesthetized, and then they would have to induce traumatic shock in the dog's leg by injuring it.
Oh, they are brutal experiments. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then this would cause the leg to swell, the dog's blood pressure would fall, and eventually it would go into shock. And initially, Vivien was very reluctant to experiment
Yes.
on dogs,
Yes.
which I totally understand.
I understand too. Yeah, although I do understand the need for animal experiments, and I know there is it's a controversial topic, but
Mm-hmm.
because I am in drug development, I have seen the need for that transitionary phase where you do experiments on, say, a petri dish or something, and then you can't directly take that to a human. There are so many
Yeah.
implications of different organs talking to each other and creating a situation that none of us expected. However, in knowing that animal experiments are required, I am still of the mindset of somewhat of a lower order of animals, say a mouse or a rat.
Yeah. Yeah. Rather than a dog.
Although that's wrong thinking on my part. So there might have been a reason why dogs were the preferred animal for this particular experiment. It is possible that the data did not translate very well from a much smaller animal. It is possible.
Yeah. Initially, although Vivien was very reluctant to experiment on dogs, Dr. Blalock explained to him how important this research was and
Hmm.
the fact that dogs were required because they were the standard cardiovascular physiology model of the day. Their responses to traumatic shock scaled really well with humans' responses.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
and although it was heartbreaking and sad to do this,
Yes. Better to do it in a dog compared to a actual human being. But those are your two choices. You either do them on dogs and then develop a good medicine or develop a good way of helping people with the
yeah.
surgery or whatever, or you do it in actual human beings. Take your pick. It's like the devil's choice.
And this was one of the greatest challenges in medicine at the time. People who were suffering from traumatic shock or crush syndrome needed to be treated. And so, like, for example, during an accident or traumatic event, if someone had a crushed limb, that had to be dealt with immediately. And so
Yes.
doctors needed to know immediately how to relieve the pressure, whether it was safe to amputate the limb, and when that kind of injury happens, fluids are rushing all over your body. How does that
Hmm.
affect your organs? All these things
Yes.
need to be studied and known so that if and when it happens to a person, there's no dinking around. There's no,
Yes.
it's like we know
You
exactly what to
need
do
to know
immediately.
exactly
Yeah.
how to intervene and bring them back. Yes.
And so after talking about this, Vivien understood the importance of these experiments
Okay.
and why it was important that these dogs needed to be sacrificed for the greater scientific good. And so he agreed to help.
Yes.
So on day one, Dr. Blalock and some of the other lab assistants showed Vivien how to anesthetize a dog, and they walked him through how to put the dog in restraints, measure its weight, measure how much sodium barbiturate was needed, and taught him how to administer it. And so at the end of that, Dr. Blalock was like, okay, I've shown you how to do it once. So tomorrow, before I get here, I expect you to have a dog ready for me to experiment on.
Oh, one time he's going to teach it one time, and you're supposed to pick up all the little nuances.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
Vivien's like, are you serious? Like I'm a carpenter and contractor. It's not like I have studied biology and have all this
That's right.
lab training even in
Yes.
general.
Yes.
Like I've been hammering nails for a living, and now all of a sudden you expect me to just have this experiment set up and ready for you on day
Ooh,
2?
tough
Yeah.
taskmaster.
Yes. But Dr. Blalock was very serious. He was like, yeah, get it done by tomorrow. And so the next day, with the help of some of the other lab assistants, Vivien did it. He got out a dog, restrained it, anesthetized it. And so then because of that, he was successful. The next day, Dr. Blalock showed him how to do the next step and then the next step. And then in a couple of weeks, Vivien was able to completely prep all of the experiments by himself and even assist in the surgeries.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
He's a very good student.
Yeah. Quick study.
For someone to pick up complicated, these are surgical procedures. Come on. Just because it's happening on a dog doesn't belie the importance of or the complexity of what is happening. These are complex surgical procedures being conducted on the dog. And this carpenter contractor picks it up within 2 weeks.
Yes. Very quickly.
Amazing. That's pretty good.
So things are going along very well for about 2 months until one day Vivien made a small mistake. It was such a small mistake that he doesn't even remember what it was in his autobiography when he was writing about it.
Okay.
But Alfred completely lost it and he started screaming at Vivien. And Vivien just sort of stood there in shock until Alfred stormed out. And then the pieces clicked together and he was like, this must be what my friend Charles meant when he said that Dr. Blalock was hell to work with.
Now he's seeing it. The other shoe has finally dropped.
Yes, 2 months later. And so he also told one of the other lab assistants what had happened. And the lab assistant just kind of was like, yeah, he probably just had a really bad night last night. And that's what it was. So Vivien changed out of his work clothes and he went to Alfred's office. And Alfred was sitting there super calm, like nothing had even happened. But Vivien was not about to let it slide. And he was like, yeah, that whole temper tantrum you just had, I'm not going to stand for that. I wasn't raised to take that kind of language from anyone, so I'm just going to go.
Good for him.
Goodbye.
Even though he needs the job, his self-respect, his dignity is important, and he's not going to let this kind of behavior slide.
And it's not only that, like not only is the financial thing, very difficult because we're in the middle of the Great Depression, who knows if he'll be able to get another job, but also remember that this is the 1930s. And for a black man to talk to a white doctor, like a white man, but a white doctor like that. And for a black man to say to a white man, you can't talk to me like that. You cannot disrespect me like that. That was incredibly brave and courageous of him to do.
Yes. He had immense self-respect. That is beautiful. Not many people can do that.
Yeah. And it's not just white and black, but also Alfred Blalock is a white man with very high social status. He's a doctor.
Correct.
He's the head of the surgical department,
Correct.
And Vivien is nobody.
Absolutely nobody at this point. Yes.
Yeah. And so really it was amazing. But even more amazing, I guess for the times, is that Alfred was like, you know what? You're right. And I'm sorry. And I swear I'll never do it again. And if I do, then you can leave. But please just give me one more chance.
Oh, that is very big of him, actually. That increases my respect for Dr. Blalock as well. To be able to admit a mistake, even though you're in a position of power and you can crush this person who is calling out your mistake. You can crush him like a bug because you have such immense power in every which way. But when you are called out on a mistake, you say, yes, I am sorry. And I will not do it again.
Yeah. And he was true to his word and he never yelled at Vivien ever again.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Very shortly after Vivien started working for Alfred, the bank where Vivien had kept all the money that he had saved for college defaulted and wiped out all of his savings.
Not fair.
One tough break after another.
Wow.
And while Vivien did recognize that he was lucky to have a paying job, because many others were not in that situation, the loss of his savings brought to his attention that he was working under the title and pay scale of a janitor, even though he was actually doing a lab technician's job.
Got it.
But of course, he's a black man living in the 1930s, and
absolutely,
that's all he's entitled to.
yes, there were a lot of the Jim Crow rules of segregation
Yes.
that were in place to ensure that no black man could raise his head, or even a black person.
Yeah. But by this time, Vivien had met and married his wife, Clara, and they had 2 young daughters, Olga and Theodosia. And so his janitor's salary wasn't cutting it. So he talks to Alfred and tells him that if he doesn't get a raise, he would have to go back to construction work to earn enough money to support his family, because that was actually more lucrative.
Yes.
By now, though, Alfred had really come to rely on Vivien and his assistants in the lab.
Yes.
So Alfred goes to bat for him and ultimately manages to get Vivien a raise from $12 to $17.50 an hour.
Okay.
And again, Vivien recognizes the importance of that even though Alfred hated dealing with administrative stuff, and Vivien is this black man in a very prejudiced and segregated era, Alfred still fought to have Vivien stay. And so Vivien recognized that and respected that and realized that Alfred really does value him and need him.
So they really have a very nice relationship, with each of them respecting the other very well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, the loss of his savings meant that Vivien had to abandon his plans of going to college.
So sad. So many casualties by this Great Depression that happened.
And so he committed himself to working with Alfred and providing for his family. Together, Vivien and Alfred made some incredible breakthroughs in traumatic shock and crush syndrome. They proved that after traumatic injury, people did not go into shock because of a buildup of toxins, which is what most doctors thought at the time. Instead, they showed it was because of fluid loss. And if you replaced the fluid through a blood transfusion, you could operate on them more safely and give the patient a higher chance of survival.
Oh, that's a key discovery to understand how to operate successfully.
Yes, big one. This work was widely applauded in the medical community, and it became especially important for treating soldiers who had to have limbs amputated during the war.
Yeah, that's right.
And so because of this, their work quickly gained recognition. Although only Alfred Blalock was really given credit, as he was the doctor and a white man.
Of course. I was going to say that. I don't think anybody would have heard of Vivien yet.
No. In 1941, Alfred was asked to return to Johns Hopkins Medical School, where he had completed his degree from, and he was asked to join as the director of the Department of Surgery. He immediately requested that Vivien join him.
Oh, okay. They are like an inseparable pair at this point, like Batman and Robin.
Yeah, exactly. You can't have one without the other.
You can't have one without the other. Sherlock Holmes and Watson.
Yes. So after 11 years at Vanderbilt, Vivien and his family left Nashville, Tennessee to go to Baltimore. But Baltimore was even worse than Nashville in terms of racism and segregation.
Oh, I'm surprised.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised by that too. But apparently in Vanderbilt, Vivien had gotten used to walking around in a white lab coat. But at Johns Hopkins, so many people stared at him that he started wearing street clothes whenever he left the laboratory.
Oh, the thought of a black man in a lab coat was completely an oxymoron. They could not compute the two pieces together.
Yes. And he also was not allowed to use the main entrance, but he had to go around the back to the rear entrance to enter the laboratories.
Oh, we see echoes of this in that movie Hidden Figures, right? Where the bathrooms are segregated. They're not allowed to use the coffee maker in the common room, not allowed to use any of the common facilities, as if they would contaminate those common facilities.
Yeah, they're trying to say separate but equal, but it's not.
It's not. It's not. It's a death by 1,000 cuts.
But again, Alfred and Vivien had this really interesting kind of codependent relationship. Alfred relied heavily on Vivien and treated him almost like a true scientific partner. He listened to Vivien's ideas and trusted him to carry out experiments and record data properly while he was busy operating on patients or doing other administrative tasks. And he even turned down an offer to work at the Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit when they refused to hire Vivien alongside him.
He cannot make do without him, actually. He's indispensable. Vivien has made himself indispensable to Blalock.
But despite this, Alfred didn't list Vivien as an author on any of his research papers, even though Vivien was physically doing majority of the work. And Vivien, for his part, found the work to be extremely important and was getting to work on the cutting edge of medical procedures and working directly with the director of surgery at one of the best medical schools in the country, despite not having a formal medical degree and not having that background and being a Black man.
Yes.
And when Vivien once again ran into financial difficulties because he was back to working on a janitor's salary at Johns Hopkins.
Oh, I see.
He started working as a bartender many times at Alfred's parties, serving the same people that he had been teaching or working with like colleagues just earlier in the day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's this weird dichotomy that's going on.
Yes, absolutely. Such a knowledgeable man, but not receiving any financial remuneration for all his skills.
Yeah. And this again is like what that movie is portraying, that scene in the movie that I was talking about where he's going around waiting on all of the doctors and taking away their drinks. Yes. It's not really explained fully why he's doing that. And so knowing this context is, I think, important if you're going to go watch that movie.
It is so bad. It is such an ironic thing. This is so unfair, actually. But this is how life treated Black people in those days.
Yeah. And eventually Alfred did fight to get Vivien raised to the proper job title and salary, which made Vivien the highest paid Black person at the university. But it's just a complicated relationship. It's really weird.
No, I absolutely see that. Dr. Blalock basically needs a clone of himself. He's got so many things going on. He's practically made Vivien his clone. Like, you do this part while I do this part.
Mm-hmm.
And Vivien was already good with his hands. He was a contractor, so he was probably extra skilled with these surgeries.
Yeah.
So a little bit of training and he got right into the groove there. Yeah. And Dr. Blalock is not going to let that go away. It's like, I cannot make another clone like him.
But then at the same time, because of society and its rules, I can't give you the credit that you're due.
Exactly. But it's, again, if you look at it from Dr. Blalock's perspective, I think his hands were tied. He was doing whatever he possibly could. But what can he do? He's tied. This is the system.
Yes.
It's extremely
tough.
Systemic.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
So it took a while. Yeah. It took a while after.
And even then, we still don't have equality.
We don't have
and
it. No.
Yeah.
This whole thing, I think we talked about this a few times. It's like watching a stock market graph where things get better and then they dip and then slowly they get better. So if you look at it from a distance, it looks like an upward curve. But then if you look closely, there's a lot of jagged ups and downs. And we are in a bad era right now also, where people are really working hard to try to take it back to 1930.
Yeah.
But hopefully there is enough momentum to not take it there. We can only hope.
I hope so. Hi everyone, Aarati here. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. If so, and you wish someone would tell your science story, I founded a science communications company called SciComm, that's SYKOM, that can help. SciComm blends creativity with scientific accuracy to create all types of science communications content, including explainer videos, slide presentations, science writing, and more. We work with academic researchers, tech companies, nonprofits, or really any scientist to help simplify your science. Check us out at SciCommer.com. That's SYKOMMER.com. Okay, back to the story. So now we are going to throw one more twist of diversity, I guess, into this partnership by introducing Dr. Helen Tausig.
The lady who was arguing with Dr. Blaylock in that movie scene that you opened this story with.
Yes. So she's a white woman and a doctor, and she's practicing pediatric cardiology at Johns Hopkins. She was particularly interested in the congenital heart defects called tetralogy of Fallot, which are 4 specific heart defects.
Okay.
First, the pulmonary valve is narrowed, which reduces blood flow from the heart to the lungs. So less blood can get to the lungs to be oxygenated. Secondly, there's a hole between the bottom 2 chambers or ventricles of the heart, which makes it harder for the heart to pump blood in the correct direction.
Correct. There's always a leak. And there's a mixing of the impure and the pure blood.
Yes, of the oxygenated and deoxygenated. Yeah.
Yes, you never have enough oxygen because the one with less oxygen is always getting mixed in with the more oxygen.
Yeah. Thirdly, the aorta, which is the main artery that carries blood from the heart to the rest of the body, is in the wrong place, which again affects blood flow, especially to the lungs.
Correct.
And then finally, the right ventricle, or the right bottom chamber of the heart, has a thicker wall, meaning that the heart has to work harder to pump blood.
So you said this was called the tetralogy of Fallot?
Yeah, Fallot.
Fallot, okay. So this tetralogy is almost, you're talking about it like a set of 4 diseases.
Yes.
But they are independent of each other, probably, or they're all happening
No, they happen together. Yeah, they all happen together.
These 4 things happen in the same child.
Yes. It's a set of congenital heart defects that occur at the same time.
All four of these things happen in the same child at the same time. Okay, I understand.
Yes.
Okay.
And these heart defects result in blood being shunted past the lungs. So the blood is not properly
oxygenated at all. There is not much oxygen. Yeah. Oh, and that is why the baby becomes blue.
Yes. They develop cyanosis, which is a bluish skin color. And that is blue baby syndrome. It can have a number of complications, including trouble breathing, seizures, failure to thrive, and death.
Of course.
These congenital heart defects were considered hopeless cases.
Yeah. I can't imagine. The heart needs a lot of fixing there.
And again, because we're so far back in history, people were like, how can anyone, let alone a newborn baby, possibly survive a heart surgery? Because it's not like you can just stop the heart and then operate for half an hour and then restart it and the person will be fine. It's not like unplugging and replugging in a computer or a phone or something like that. So no one had even tried because they were like, if you can't do the surgery in under 3 minutes, the person's dead. And then now it's a baby and it's tiny and that's even harder. But Dr. Helen Tausig was like, let's just try. Why don't we just try to develop a surgical fix? Because everyone's too scared and all of these children are suffering because no one's even trying. So in 1943, she approaches Alfred Blalock with the idea of finding a surgical way to fix these defects. Alfred is immediately excited by this challenge because so many people said it was impossible. So he was like, we could be the first ones to do it.
Yes.
By we, he obviously meant him and Vivien.
Of course. Yeah. Yes. That's an indispensable team at this point.
Yeah. So he first tasks Vivien with creating a blue baby model in dogs. So this is not easy because it's, remember, 4 separate defects all working together to create a scenario in which the baby has low enough oxygen to turn blue, but is still alive.
Correct. There is restrictions in the flow, but not bad enough to die immediately.
Yes. So it's not just like, causing traumatic shock where you can just hit the dog's leg with a hammer or something and cause a break.
It has to be more chronic and the trauma has to be titled to get the right amount to suffer but not die.
So after months of trying, Vivien finally succeeds. He creates the first animal model of cyanosis.
Wow. Okay. That's a tough one. The level of skill required to make that happen is incredible.
Now he has to fix it, though.
Of course. That was only step one. Correct.
Yes. Now they have to figure out how to fix it. So thankfully, Alfred and Vivien already had a pretty good idea of how they could maybe do this. They joined the first artery that branches off of the aorta, which is supposed to be taking oxygen-rich blood from the heart to the rest of the body. And they attached that artery to the right pulmonary artery, which takes oxygen-poor blood to the lungs to pick up more oxygen. So effectively, because these babies don't have the proper amount of oxygenated blood in their hearts, instead of sending all that blood out to the rest of the body, some of the blood now goes back around to the lungs for a second time to get more oxygen.
Got it. So they create a shunt.
Yes. It's not a complete cure, but it's definitely an improvement. So Vivien created this corrective blood shunt for the first time in a dog named Anna.
Oh, okay.
So Anna became the first dog to live through the surgeries and essentially proved that this was a viable fix for humans. When Alfred saw the perfect way that Vivien had sewed everything together to reconfigure the way that the blood flow, he said, quote, "This looks like something the Lord made," end quote.
Oh, well, Vivien also is something that the Lord made.
Yes.
Because without divine grace, you cannot have that level of skill in your hands.
So therefore, it is a very appropriate movie title.
Yes.
And fun fact, Anna became kind of a pet/mascot in the lab.
Of course.
And her portrait is the only animal portrait hung at Johns Hopkins.
Oh, wow. Anna the dog, who was the one with the first viable shunt.
Yes.
But then you have only talked about one correction at this point.
That was their main thing that they did. So these 4 congenital heart defects are all working together to make the cyanosis happen, the blue baby syndrome. And the main problem is that the blood isn't being oxygenated enough. So by creating the shunt to go back,
doing it twice. It's like doing the laundry twice, basically.
Yeah, so they haven't actually fixed the congenital heart defects per se. They've just
sending the blood in for a second round of cleaning is enough to stop the baby from being blue. The baby gets enough oxygen.
Yes. Yeah.
Got it. Now I'm with you.
Since Vivien didn't have a doctorate, and probably because he's a Black man, he wasn't allowed to touch patients. So on November 29th, 1944, it was Alfred who tried the procedure for the first time on a 15-month-old baby named Eileen Saxon.
Okay.
And so during the procedure, Vivien, who's really the one who invented the procedure and knows actually what to do.
Yes.
He stood on a step stool behind Alfred and directed him the whole time. Because Vivien had practiced this procedure literally hundreds of times on dogs, whereas Alfred had really only done it once or twice.
Oh, my goodness. You know, I'm a little astonished because if I was the mother of that little baby Eileen, I would say, fix my baby. Whoever needs to touch the baby, doesn't matter. Please, color is immaterial. Skill is all that matters in this situation. And I don't know if the parents had the option to.
I don't know if they knew. Yeah,
exactly. That's where I was going with it. I don't even know if the parents were told that the real skill lies in the hands of a Black man. This white guy who you think is the doctor who's going to save your baby is actually less skilled compared to the Black man who actually developed the entire thing.
But probably not, because all the credit would have gone to Alfred Blalock anyway. It would have been like Alfred Blalock developed this, you know?
Yes, that's right.
So it probably would have been portrayed to the parents like that in the first place. Like,
yes,
you know?
That's right. Yeah. And hidden behind the surgical masks, hidden in the operation theater, was this other dynamic playing out, where the black man is guiding that this is how the experiment needs to be done.
Yeah, whispering in his ear, like,
yes.
this is what you need to do next.
This is what you need to do next.
Unfortunately, the surgery was not a complete success. Eileen lived for several more months, but she did ultimately end up passing away.
Duh. It's like if you had got the right hands on Eileen the first time, it would have worked.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Alfred needed more practice, basically.
Yes.
So Alfred operated again on an 11-year-old girl with complete success this time.
Okay.
And then he did it again on a 6-year-old boy, again successfully.
Okay.
In May 1945, these 3 operations and the results were published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. In the paper, the credit for the shunt went entirely to Alfred Blalock and Helen Taussig, with no mention whatsoever about Vivien Thomas.
Not even in the acknowledgements.
Nope, nothing. And even in the press, credit went almost entirely to Alfred Blalock, which made him an instant legend in the field.
I see.
Parents with babies that had blue baby syndrome were coming from all over to Johns Hopkins, and doctors from all over the world were coming to see the procedure firsthand. But neither Alfred nor anyone at Johns Hopkins made any mention of Vivien, even though he was often present at the surgeries and even helped teach the visiting doctors the procedure.
Oh, he's just treated as background noise. It's like the secretary who brought the pen in for the big man or something like that. Truly horrible that way.
He was also left out of group photos that were supposed to show all the doctors who had worked on making this breakthrough possible. And at the time, the procedure was called the Blalock-Taussig shunt, or BT shunt. Although nowadays, people have started calling it the Blalock-Thomas-Taussig shunt, or BTT. But that name change didn't officially happen until 2023.
Oh, it took that long?
Isn't that ridiculous?
I am actually still astonished that in spite of every effort to hide the truth did end up prevailing and finally was strong enough by 2023 to actually earn a name change there. The fact that they worked really hard to suppress it. It's like fire. The truth is like fire. No matter how much you try to hide it, the fire will burn bright.
There was a lot of parallels I found between this story and Alice Ball's story, who I did in like episode 4 or something.
Yes.
Way back when, where
I do remember her story.
Yeah, they just took credit for all of her work and tried to suppress that she had ever worked on, this treatment for leprosy. But eventually, like 50 years later, some historian was digging through records and found her name and figured out that she had done all this work, so
incredible.
It's there.
So how did Vivien's truth come out? Do you know?
Well, I think he was kind of always there. Like, he wrote his autobiography and, Alfred Blalock, if you asked him directly, he would, say, oh yeah, Vivien's indispensable. But, in terms of sharing real acknowledgement and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this lack of any sort of acknowledgement finally caused a rift in Vivien and Alfred's relationship.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, Vivien hadn't really expected to be recognized by Johns Hopkins or the newspapers, but he didn't think that Alfred, who had worked with him for so many years up to this point, would completely fail to mention him anywhere. Not to mention that despite everything, Vivien was still struggling financially.
Here is Blalock standing on Vivien's shoulders, rising up to the stars, and Vivien is still being ground into the dust.
Yeah, there was still a limit on how much he could earn because he was Black and he didn't hold a degree. And so in 1946, he decided that since he wasn't getting recognition or the opportunity to make more money, he wanted to return his family to Nashville and take up carpentry again and maybe pursue a medical degree for real.
Okay.
Alfred was really upset by Vivien's decision, and he tried everything to make Vivien stay. Ultimately, Alfred made Vivien the offer to be moved to an entirely new pay scale that had been created for people without a degree but who deserved higher pay. He also offered Vivien the chance to earn more money by working as sort of a pharmaceutical salesman through one of his friends, Dr. Ben Gaboff, who was president of the Ralph Winton Company. and wanted a black man to sell his company's pharmaceuticals to black doctors.
Okay.
But that sort of backfired because many of the doctors that Vivien met with recognized him. And he wrote in his autobiography that they said things like, "You're being made a fool of, and John Hopkins is making all of this money based on the result of work that you've done. They have the money to pay you.
Yes.
They're just not doing it."
And also, it's terrible that if you want more money, you have to work more hours. You have to work in Blalock's lab, and then you have to also work as a sales rep. So basically give more of yourself to get more money.
Blalock doesn't have to do that.
Yeah, per hour pay is not increasing. So you're giving more and more of yourself in order to get more money.
And so all of this made Vivien just even more determined to leave John Hopkins. Eventually, though, Vivien and Alfred negotiated a deal where Vivien stayed at John Hopkins, and he ended up staying there for the rest of his career. So they figured it out. I don't know the actual deal or what it was, but presumably he made enough money and enough to support his family.
Right.
In 1950, now 5 years after the initial publication of The Blood Shunt, Alfred performed the 1,000th blue baby operation. Shortly after this milestone, a doctor named Raymond P. Heimbecker came to work in Alfred's lab. Raymond worked with Vivien on, quote, experimental reversal of capillary blood flow. Raymond wrote a paper on this and listed both Vivien and Alfred as authors on the paper.
Oh, first time getting recognition.
This was the first time in 1951 that Vivien's name was published as an author alongside Alfred Blalock's.
So just let me take a moment to digest this. So that means this was always a possibility. Blalock just didn't do it.
It kind of seems like that. It kind of seems
Or is it
like
that the times had changed enough? That's what I'm trying to sense.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure. It kind of seems like Alfred Blalock maybe could have fought harder for Vivien, but he maybe was scared to lose his position. He's really bought into the system of oppression.
Or maybe he didn't want to give up some of the credit. That is also possible.
Possible. It's almost like he's playing this game of he recognizes Vivien is indispensable.
Yes.
And so he does just enough to keep Vivien happy and make him do whatever he can to make Vivien stay.
Yes.
But he takes all the credit, and he's not willing to fight out in the open. He's not willing to fight in the newspapers, the media, and actually stand up in the light and say, this guy helped me. He's willing to do the kind of dark back alley kind of hey, I talked to HR, we got you a little bit of a pay raise, please stay. So I feel like perception was really important to him.
And he was definitely using Vivien to be that rising star. Very sad, actually.
As time went on, Vivien became the laboratory supervisor, responsible for managing everything that went on in the lab. Vivien used his position to hire and train more Black people as lab technicians, many of whom had initially been hired by John Hopkins in more menial service positions.
He's doing his best.
Yes. Doing his best to lift up more people like him.
Fellow sufferers.
He also took care of the animals and became resident surgeon to the pets of numerous members of the hospital faculty and staff.
Oh my goodness, I'm just thinking this is painting such a picture for me. Where all these staff in John Hopkins, everybody knows him, obviously. If they are bringing their pets to him for surgery and getting the pets fixed instead of going to a regular vet, they know the truth. And yet they are perfectly willing to see him being relegated to the background. You shed your light so that we shine.
Yes. Yeah. In 1963, Alfred retired from John Hopkins, but his successor, Dr. George Zudema, kept Vivien on in his position as lab supervisor. Alfred died in 1964 from cancer. His death seemed to profoundly impact Vivien because although Vivien did not ever directly address Alfred's death, he put off starting any new research projects for several years. Finally, in the 1970s, Vivien began to get some formal recognition for his work. Some of the doctors that he had trained on the Blue Baby operation got together and commissioned a painting of Vivien, which was hung right next to Alfred Blalock's portrait.
Oh, now they're intertwined. They are like, you cannot talk of Blalock without talking about Vivien. That is good.
Yeah. And I think, like you were asking, how did he finally get recognition? It's like people knew. People did know. And then I think once it sort of started to become more socially acceptable, that's when he started getting his recognition.
Yes, I think by 1970, definitely it was slightly better because those laws had been abolished that mandated segregation.
In 1976, Johns Hopkins awarded Vivien with an honorary doctorate of laws because there were certain regulations against him receiving a doctorate in medicine. But now at least people could officially call him doctor, even though he still couldn't operate on a person.
But hey, that's, I mean, for Johns Hopkins to actually bow down and say, okay, this guy made us millions, if not billions. So we at least need to recognize something. Okay.
Yes.
At least they had that much of a conscience. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. And I find it funny that he's got a doctorate in law.
Like, it's okay. It's okay.
Whatever.
I mean, whatever we can do. Yeah.
Whatever we can do. Yeah.
Yes, the society is.
But it's just funny. It's just funny how these, how these things work. Like this great contract worker, carpenter who became like this surgeon and then a vet has a doctorate in law.
Has a doctorate in law. Okay. We'll take
funny.
it.
It's just funny.
Yes. At this point, because he has been the underdog for so long, any recognition feels okay.
And Dr. Helen Taussig attended the ceremony to support him.
Oh, nice.
Vivien joked that it only took him 37 years to get a degree out of Johns Hopkins, to which one of his colleagues, Dr. Norman Anderson, said, quote, "Yes, but look what kind you're getting. That's the deluxe model. That means you've already accomplished something. There are people around here with all kinds of degrees that never have and never will accomplish anything. You've already made a contribution," end quote.
Oh, that's a good one.
After receiving his honorary degree, Vivien was appointed to the faculty as instructor of surgery, where he taught for 3 years.
Hang on. Wait a second. So now he's actually becoming a teacher of surgery?
Yes, he's appointed to the faculty of Johns Hopkins.
Faculty? He is a faculty member in Johns Hopkins. So he came in as a janitor. Then Blalock fought a little bit and just enough to keep him like mollified a bit. And increased his pay grade to some sort of a lab and then a lab supervisor / lab manager. And now he's faculty at Johns
he got
Hopkins,
a degree
Netherlands.
And a faculty. Yeah, and now is a faculty member.
That is good. I'm at least heartened that, okay, better late than never. That is my thought here.
Yes. He got there. Unlike Alice Ball, he lived long enough to see his recognition come to him.
Yes.
He retired in 1979, and with some encouragement from his old students, he began writing an autobiography called Partners of the Heart. After a few years, Vivien developed pancreatic cancer, but he managed to finish his autobiography before passing away on November 26, 1985, at the age of 75.
He died of pancreatic cancer. His partner of the heart, Blalock, also died of cancer.
Yeah. A few years after he died, a writer for the Washingtonian, Katie McCabe, published an article about Vivien Thomas called Like Something the Lord Made. It quickly gained national attention, and film producers started contacting his family about getting film rights to the story.
Oh, I see.
In 2003, PBS broadcasted a documentary called Partners of the Heart, which won an award for Best History Documentary. And, as I already mentioned, in 2004, HBO made a film called Something the Lord Made, which is what inspired this episode.
Oh, wow. Vivien truly did Lord's work, actually. incredible for somebody to just plug in spite of getting no recognition, but change the lives of so many children.
Thousands of children. Yeah.
Yes. That is truly Lord's work.
Also in 2004, the Baltimore public school system opened the Vivien T. Thomas Medical Arts Academy, which prepares high school students for a career in medicine. And there are numerous other awards that have been started in his name, but I think I'm just going to end it there, and you can go to the Wikipedia page and look it up yourself if you're curious.
Wow, this is such an apt and fitting story to talk about in this season of Valentine's and hearts and
Black History Month.
Right in the middle of Black History Month. All I can say is I hope that the world can do better by the Viviens of today and tomorrow.
Yeah. And I think the other reason I really liked this story was because, Vivien never took a medical class, he never went to medical school, and yet he was able to make such an amazing breakthrough despite everything stacked up against him, not having an education, being a Black man, living in Jim Crow era. And I'm like, you know what? If he can do it, then what excuse do people like us have?
If you have that light shining in you, it'll burst out.
Yeah. If you have the passion for something, just do it. And
yes, make it happen.
You'll change the world.
Whether the world recognizes at that moment or the world has to catch up to your brilliance, it's okay. The opinion of the world does not matter. The fact that you are improving the world, that's what's more important.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for listening. If you have a suggestion for a story we should cover or thoughts you want to share about an episode, reach out to us at smarttpodcast.com. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Smart Tea Podcast, and listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And leave us a rating or comment. It helps us grow. New episodes are released every other Wednesday. See you next time.